Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling, along with Katherine Timpf and Eboni K. Williams, and we are the Fox News specialists. Well, the juice will soon run free. O.J. Simpson facing his parole hearing in Nevada today and getting a big build-up to arguably the best news he's heard since being acquitted of murder more than 2 decades ago. Listen.
Mr. Simpson, you organized this crime in which 2 victims were robbed at gunpoint. It was a serious crime, and there was no excuse for it. You deserve to be sent to prison. You have been in prison now almost 9 years, the minimum amount imposed by the court. You have complied with the rules of the prison. You have programmed in an acceptable manner. You have no prior conviction of criminal activity. Considering all of these factors, my vote is to grant your parole effective when eligible.
I concur with Commissioner Korda and grant parole. And in addition, our decision, although difficult, is fair and just.
I concur with Commissioner Korda and agree to grant parole.
Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole when eligible, and that will conclude this hearing.
Thank you.
So Simpson is now expected to be released in October. A lot to get to around today's decision. So we want to bring in a man who needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. Joining us from Carson City, Nevada, Fox News correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo, very quickly, the man's been convicted of murder now. He's been convicted of armed robbery and aggravated assault. He's been convicted of beating his wife. And now this parole board says he's a low risk to reoffend. My question is this. Page 6 reporting all afternoon that there are offers on the table right now for O.J. Simpson, the reality show. Does this happen? Could this happen? And would he ever see a dime of it if it does happen?
Well, let me leave that one, whether he sees the money, aside for a second. There is no doubt, Eric, but that there is a tremendous commercial appetite for this man. O.J. Simpson demonstrated this saga, so bizarre, so close to so many people, having to do with domestic violence and celebrity and race and so forth, has demonstrated its longevity, its appeal. Last year, the O.J. Simpson documentary series rated through the roof. The recreation of the O.J. saga rated through the roof. Game of Thrones type ratings. They are following him, this pack of Hollywood wolves. They want him more than anything, I believe, Eric.
Eboni?
Yeah, Geraldo, we hear that parole commissioner saying that, you have no prior convictions. But, Geraldo, we know that back in '89, he pled no contest to the domestic violence incident, of course, with Nicole. So what is your take around why that didn't seem to be considered at all?
Well, I think, Eboni, that in this particular case, this parole board wanted to judge him based on how he behaved in the 9 years he spent behind bars here in the state of Nevada. It was a rinky-dink armed robbery. Let's face it, this was a Keystone Crooks kind of robbery. It wasn't a serious crime in the sense that he just rounded up his pals. Come on, gang, let's get my stuff back. They go storming into the room. Some guns get pulled. OJ doesn't even see the guns being pulled, but he's the one that takes the hit. It's a crime that he should have done a year or two maximum behind bars. He did 9 long years. He was a model prisoner. I hate the guy. I believe he got away with a brutal double homicide. I believe that he exacerbated the racial tensions in this country. But the law is the law. It was karma that he did the long time, the 9 years behind bars, but it wasn't justice. The parole board did the right thing, and I would have been shocked if they didn't have any.
Kat.
Sure.
Yeah, Geraldo, you hate the guy, I hate the guy. You look at him in the courtroom, though, he's yucking it up, he's smiling and laughing, other people are laughing along. I mean, that just makes him seem a little more dangerous to me as a charming sociopath type of guy.
I totally agree, Kat, with your assessment. He's the kind of guy who is so volatile. He's combustible. I think he's a human IED. He could go off at any time, and he has demonstrated that, not just with his domestic violence against Nicole, which he chronicled in the buildup to the homicide, to the brutal murders. She really put domestic violence on the map, I believe. But he also allegedly brutalized his girlfriend in Florida. He had a road rage incident. He had other things going on. This guy could snap like that. But again, 9 years. He did all of the right things, not even a single infraction. And when it comes to the law says that he's eligible for parole. He did 9 years. Everybody knows he got 9 years, 9 to 33, because they were trying to give him the justice that he escaped in California here in Nevada. But you know, they did the right thing. Now let's watch the reality show known as OJ.
Yeah, let's do that. Geraldo, stay with us, but we want to bring in today's specialist. She has worked for 32 years in law enforcement. She was the first female judge on the Westchester County, New York court, and she's the host of the Fox News show Justice with Judge Jeanine, and she specializes in breaking barriers for women. Jeanine Pirro is here, and he's a Hollywood actor and licensed professional race car driver, a big supporter of President Donald Trump, and has a website called VoteAntonio.com. Why, you ask? Well, that's because he specializes in making California great again. He's now a candidate for Congress in California's 26th. Antonio Sabato Jr. is here. Judge, let me bring you in on this. You're taking a little bit of exception to what Geraldo had said about
conviction.
The conviction. Go ahead.
Okay. The fact that he says, Geraldo, and I love him, and I was on his show Rivera Live. Wasn't that what it was, Geraldo, for all those years? And I must tell you, I was a sitting DA at the time this happened. And in fact, I was having a barbecue for my whole office at my home the night that the Bronco chase started. And everybody started coming in and saying, hey, boss, there's OJ's in a Bronco chase. But this parole board, as one of the conditions that they must consider, is a prior conviction. That's right. So, Eboni, you are correct. This guy, OJ, is convicted of domestic violence. This is a domestic violence homicide. But, you know, for those people who say that he's volatile, and clearly he should have been convicted of murder, and that's another issue. The truth is that in 9 years he hasn't lost his temper. In 9 years he hasn't had a problem. So there's no question the parole board had to do this. But let me just say that in terms of the trial itself, and I want to get this out, you had to be there to understand, and a lot of you are younger, but to really understand the context. I wasn't looking at you, though, Eric.
Yeah, no.
I was not there.
You were
I was not there.
Still to this day, Judge, I almost showed up today on set with a rubber glove and a small glove that had clearly shrunk after being soaked with blood. You knew that wasn't going to fit.
Of course, I'm from upstate New York. But here's the thing. The context of the trial was what was important. It was 2 years after the L.A. riots, 2 years after Rodney King. L.A. Police Department had a terrible relationship with the minority community. The jury was 10 African Americans, and that in itself, I got no problem with.
OJ was
but
clearly
when the only
happy
person
to bring this
convicted
about
is
race.
Mark Furman for lying about calling someone the N-word, then it's all about race.
I want to get Antonio in here. Antonio, one of the convictions for this parole was that he cannot violate his parole, and they clearly said even the most minute violation of parole, and that included public drunkenness, cohorting with felons, and crossing state lines without permission. This guy is already a repeat offender. He's going to land himself back in jail.
It doesn't surprise me that he will be released in October, because in California they've been releasing criminals for quite some time because of AB 109. I mean, that's incredible that these politicians are pulling these policies out so easily, and people get the last word. He will be released, and that's a shame. He should be doing his time, and it's not going to work that way.
Eboni, let me ask you. I think I said that he was convicted of murder. I was talking about the civil
He was
case.
found liable.
Found liable, but not necessarily convicted.
Yeah, he was acquitted but found liable. That's different. But I do, obviously, I think the facts and the evidence lead most reasonable minds to think that this guy was guilty. I think there were some missteps in the prosecution. The first, I'll see what you think about this, Judge, changing venue. Putting this in downtown L.A., Gil Garcetti doing that, I think was a huge mistake.
Can we bring Geraldo? We still have Geraldo, right?
We still have Geraldo, and actually I have some pushback for my dear friend and one of my mentors, Mr. Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo, you said that it was OJ that riled up the racial tensions in Los Angeles. I would submit that LAPD did a fine job of that all on their own.
Well, I agree. This is why I say that, Eboni. This was a man who had nothing to do with civil rights or the civil rights movement. This was a man known as the Hall of Fame football player, the celebrity pitchman, the minor movie star, and I just saw him the other night in The Towering Inferno. But this is a man who never went to the south side of Los Angeles. He never dated black women. He always hung around with the
He was married to one, and then he cheated on her with Nicole.
for 10 minutes back in the day. But my point is this:
Two kids.
he wrapped himself.
Well, go ahead, Geraldo. Go ahead.
He wrapped himself in the anger, the smoldering anger of the Rodney King, the police acquittal and the Rodney King beating and the riots. They hated the LAPD, that community. And once, and Eboni is right, when they changed the venue, when they went from the west side of town where the crime was committed, that upscale community, downtown where they knew they were going to get an inner city jury, an urban jury, they got exactly the jury that they should have expected, and that jury just did not trust anybody. They were willing to believe that because Mark Fuhrman used the N-word, that O.J. Simpson was being framed by everyone, every cop involved, and despite the mountain of evidence.
Yeah, Geraldo, let's bring Kat in, but Geraldo, I heard you say on Shep right after the verdict that he was part of the aftermath, the racial divide in the country in the aftermath of that trial. Responsible for it.
There's no doubt about it. They helped create the racial divide. They certainly, at the very least, they laid bare that the country was divided along racial lines. And we've seen evidence of that since the 1990s. But this was an exploitation of the issue because this man, Jay-Z, I have to point this out to bring it up to current day. Jay-Z with this new hit album, 444. He has a song on it called The O.J. Story. And in it, he uses O.J.'s own words. O.J. said infamously, "I'm not black, I'm O.J." So Jay-Z plays that soundbite over and over and over again because he wants to show the world that O.J. Simpson was an exploiter rather than a victim of the racial tensions in this country.
Yeah, look, everybody, reasonable person, thinks that he's guilty, as we've discussed. But I think a lot of people did expect that he would be paroled today. Is anybody surprised by this, or what's the feeling like over there?
I don't think anyone was surprised. I went on the record yesterday. I thought it would be a 4-0 verdict. There are 7 members of the parole board. You need a majority to get parole. There's 1 vacancy on the board, so there's only 6 on the board. So he needed, he needed 4 of the 6 to get the parole. 2 weren't here. They were connected by telephone. The 4 parole board commissioners that were there voted unanimously, as I expected they would. And the reason again is the rules. The reason again is the law. The fact that O.J. is a criminal, the fact that O.J., is this serial abuser of women and everything else has nothing to do with the fact that for the last 9 years behind Lovelock Correctional Facility, he was a model prisoner, so they had to let him go.
All right, let me bring Judge. Judge, is there any way that he can capitalize on his fame now that he's technically a free man?
No.
So he does a reality show. He's got a pension coming from the NFL.
He's entitled to his pension. He's entitled to, the money streams that he's getting. But once he tries to profit off the story of the murder of his wife and Ron Goldman, he doesn't get it.
But the O.J. Simpson reality show has nothing to do with the murder. It's his life now. Can he make money that way?
He can make money now. But then the question is there a judgment against him from the Ron Goldman and the Nicole Brown Simpson case, from the civil case? I think it was $33 million. There's a lien now. There's a judgment. Pay it up.
What do you think, Antonio? I mean,
the best thing you should do is just stay away.
What's Hollywood? What is Hollywood going to do with O.J. Simpson?
Oh, they're coming to him with a bag full of cash. I mean, there's no question that right now he's getting calls from left to right. It's a matter if he's going to do it or not. I suggest he stays away.
I don't think he will.
No chance.
He's a narcissist. He thrives on that kind of attention.
I hope he stays.
Well, we know he thrives on that kind of attention, right, Judge? Have you seen a defendant almost talk himself out of release? I mean, he talked so long today, almost an hour, right?
He's a good
I'm like,
talker,
buddy, zip it.
Look, think about the book. If I did it, I would have done it this way.
Right.
Who does that?
He was just thinking, this is the O.J. show. Sitting there, this is the O.J. show. I'm on TV. This is great. You have the attention. There's no way he's going to.
Maybe the truth will come out.
You're absolutely right, but there's no way he says that.
He literally said to this parole board, I never pulled a gun.
Yeah.
Okay, but there was that machete, and then he said,
And then he said, I'm a
But not
straight shooter. I'm a straight shooter. I swear to goodness.
Choice of words.
Oh, man. Bad word choice. Strike it from the record,
and then he said,
Your
I've never had a substance abuse problem.
Yeah,
And
well,
there
that's
was
ridiculous.
so much of that recorded.
Maybe he forgot. He's old.
And he has that substance abuse problem.
Geraldo, we're going to say thank you to Geraldo. Appreciate your time. We're going to say goodbye to Geraldo. But we've got a lot more on OJ, on the OJ News today. We'll be right back.
Take me to church, I worship like a dog at the shrine of your life. I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife. Offer me that deathless death of good God.
O.J. Simpson raising a lot of eyebrows and lighting up the internet after making some pretty peculiar comments during his parole hearing today.
I'm no danger to pull a gun on anybody. I never have in my life. I've never been accused of it in my life. Nobody's ever accused me of pulling any weapon on them.
I think he must have missed the trial of the century.
Because they were dead at the time. They couldn't accuse you.
Yeah, and I guess the prosecutor certainly accused him of pulling some weapons on people, huh, Judge?
Well, and plus, the fact that someone else may have pulled a gun, the guy is a part of a conspiracy. It is a planned, tape-recorded conspiracy where it is on the record ahead of time during the crime itself, and then they have a follow-up, a post-mortem. This guy, it doesn't matter whether he actually held it, he knew it.
Yeah, and Antonio, during this hearing, he literally says to this parole board of 4 people, he had no idea. Gun was in the room. He didn't turn around. I mean, come on, it's a hotel room, not a
Looking
freaking
at
ball.
this, it brings memories. This was the beginning of reality TV right here. That's right. This was the first day of reality TV, and now he looks like he's going to go back to doing more reality TV. So it's crazy to me. But listen, the truth will come out. My opinion about what happened in the 90s, I think parts of his family, I think his son had something to do with it. It's just speculation, but hopefully the truth will come out. If he does do a TV show, the truth will come out because he'll spill it.
Speaking of family, Kat, we heard from his daughter in the parole hearing, and she was really choked up. Do you think that had any sway with the parole board, kind of hearing at least from his side of the personal aspect?
I think it was when he made the point that he was a single father. I was so alarmed by that. I couldn't believe you said that. I really couldn't. I think that they were going to do what they had to do anyways. I think that would make you feel for her, but not for him. I certainly don't think that you feel for him. He said a lot of crazy things. My favorite was the conflict-free life.
Yeah,
that is
literally.
That is a life.
He said that.
Yeah. He said, like, really? So what is my life then? Just completely boring? Because I've never been, in prison or killed anybody. And so how can you say it's conflict-free? Is he living outside of reality? Pretty clearly, yes.
How could you not see the guns in that small room? He's never seen anything in a small room.
In the same testimony to the parole board, he said, I always travel with security, and they always were armed. And then he says, I brought these 2 guys along for security, and then he says, I didn't know they had guns.
Didn't know he had guns, though, Eric. So the attorney for Nicole Brown Simpson's estate, John Kelly, he's wasting no time denouncing O.J. Simpson being granted parole.
I think he never should have seen the light of day. I think between 95 and 2007 was a gift to him, and I think freedom now is a gift to him too. But that being said, I don't agree with what happened, but I don't criticize. They had their format, they had their formula, and it was certainly anticipated.
Yeah.
Judge, I know you know him well.
I do know John Kelly, and it's good to see him again. I haven't seen him in a while, but, John Kelly did what the prosecution could not do in the O.J. Simpson case. John Kelly proved a case and got a jury to agree that O.J. was liable for the deaths of Nicole and Ron Goldman. The guy is brilliant. He's a great lawyer. And I think he's one of the few people that's going to benefit from this. Because if O.J. starts making money, then he's going to get, a part of his fee as well from the $33 million.
Now, Eric, I know that you very rightly bring up, what about the families of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson, but maybe this could be some silver lining. OJ's obviously going to get out probably in October. The money that possibly they make, maybe that goes to the family.
I'm blown away that there's going to be people who with so low character that they'll offer him money to do rehab. But they will.
They will.
But, so here's the thing. I'm very sure that O.J. Simpson will be in jail again. Think what happened. He gets acquitted. First of all, he beats his wife, and there's pictures, and she's bruised.
We know that.
Then he gets acquitted of murdering his wife, and then isn't smart enough to lay low. Parties in Orlando. Remember they had him partying in Orlando. Yeah. Road rage, and then all of a sudden he's partying in Vegas, and then this happens. Goes to jail. He will end up in jail again. The parole Judge, the requirements for parole are so stiff.
Very strict.
He's never shown the ability to stay away from that
Well,
stuff.
you know what? He's really going to have to stay on the straight and narrow because they will pull him back in a second. There's no doubt about it.
How does that happen? Can I just ask you? So how does that exactly happen? Who pulls
like
him
when
back?
I would put someone on parole, then someone would come to me, whether it's a parole officer or law enforcement. He then, you know, they will bring me my order. I will look at the order and say, hey, based on this hearing, you violated this order. You're going back in. He doesn't get a trial. He doesn't get anything. He goes back in. It's very
He doesn't seem to think that anybody has any reservations about him either. He loved making people laugh today. He thinks that it's not going to be that tough for him, which I agree with you. I think that's exactly why he'll be right back there.
Antonio, I think he was very charming to Kat's point, but there were some moments, anytime he got any pushback, where we saw that brow get furrowed and OJ started getting angry all over again.
Oh, yeah.
How long before you think that part comes out?
It's going to come up very soon. I mean, this is the most watched thing in the world right now. So I don't know. I think he's got those moments when he's serious and he looks at himself and go, I can't be too serious right now. I got to smile again. Because once he does that, that's just an evil look right there. People don't want to see him do that.
He's got a history of a bad temper.
Yeah.
He comes off as a nice guy in these hearings, ha, ha, ha. But he's got a dark side, and it's a temper, and that will land him in jail.
There's another piece to it also. The guy is angry. The guy is angry because he was in prison for 9 years for a crime where nobody was hurt and where the victims actually come to hurt another shot. Victim comes in and says, you know, I forgave him, and the other one who died forgave him too.
Well, he
so
always sees
he's
himself as
probably
the victim,
angry
Judge.
about
It's
that. Yeah,
terrible.
he's the victim.
But straight ahead, Attorney General Jeff Sessions vowing to stay on the job after a public slam from President Trump. That is Robert Mueller reportedly expands the Russia probe. We've got it all covered. Stay with us.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions unexpectedly in the crosshairs following an interview by President Trump with the New York Times.
Jeff Sessions takes the job, gets into the job, recuses himself. I then have, which frankly, I think is very unfair to the president. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, you know, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word, to the president.
Well, that doesn't sound so good. Attorney General Sessions responded during a press conference today.
I have the honor of serving as Attorney General. It's something that goes beyond any thought I would have ever had for myself. We love this job, we love this department, and I plan to continue to do so as long as that is appropriate.
This afternoon, the White House said President Trump still has confidence in Sessions, so take that for what you will. But adding to today's drama, Bloomberg News reports that Special Counsel Robert Mueller is expanding the Russia probe to include President Trump's finances. In his New York Times interview, President Trump said Mueller doing that would be a, quote, red line, a point he expanded on with the Times.
I don't make money from Russia. In fact, I put out a letter saying that I don't make, from one of the most highly respected law firms and accounting firms. I don't have buildings in Russia. They said I own buildings in Russia. I don't. They said I made money from Russia. No, it's not my thing. I don't do that. Over the years, I've looked at maybe doing a deal in Russia, but I never did one.
Antonio, let me ask you. A lot of people have different opinions about Jeff Sessions, his recusal. Why tell that to the New York Times? You're not supposed to, you know, air your dirty laundry, let alone like throw your dirty laundry literally into a reporter's face. I'm trying to understand why.
I don't understand. The last 7 months, they've been trying to find something about Russia, and so far, nothing. We should be talking about the health care. We should be talking about the veterans. We should be talking about the fact that this country is not doing as good as it used to, right? So we got to make some changes, and these people don't want to hold up to the truth. They're working for the president. Stand up, you know, commit to the truth and say, I did something wrong or whatever from the beginning. So we don't have to waste any more money, taxpayer money, on this stuff.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That seemed like an interesting venue for it. But again, Sessions is just hanging in there, Judge. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I think it's interesting that the quote that he used, he said that he was hanging in there basically as long as it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Not as long as the president wants me. But see, here's the problem. Let's be clear on this. Donald Trump is in a mess right now because Bob Mueller the special counsel has all kinds of conflicts of interest. Number one, the most important issue is deciding who's telling the truth, Comey or Trump. Bob Mueller is like this with Jim Comey. They have spent a lot of years together, not the least of which happened in John Ashcroft's hospital room with this whole thing with what is it, the security codes. But aside from that, what you've got is his son. Now Donnie Jr. is in the middle of it. You've got his son-in-law in the middle of it. And had Sessions, I'm sure this is what Donald is thinking, at the president, excuse me, had Sessions recused himself, then, you know, we wouldn't be in this mess. Right now, Mueller's got no one looking over him. Sessions can't oversee him because he's recused. The deputy AG can't oversee him because he is a witness. He's the one who wrote the memo saying that Comey should be fired. Therefore, Mueller, his whole staff is Trump haters, including Preet Bharara and his group, is going after Trump.
Can I just add that you say the president is in a big mess right now? I'm not sure I agree with that, but I will tell you it's because of Sessions. It's because Jeff Sessions said, yeah, I shook Kislyak's hand twice in a receiving line after a book event. Are you kidding me? That's enough to recuse yourself from maybe the most important investigation since Watergate. So Sessions recuses. Rosenstein says, hey, you know what? Who was an appointee prior to Donald Trump's becoming president, says, you know what? Let's get Mueller on the case. Mueller is now, I don't know, no friend of Trump, I guess, and then he expands the investigation to anything.
Okay.
He's throwing everything against the wall.
What they're
right
looking at is beyond the mandate of the special counsel. It is beyond the statute of limitations. This is something that is not part of Mueller's charge. And what you left out, Eric, is that Mueller applied for the job as head of the FBI. It doesn't get it, and now he's overseeing everything the president is doing.
So, Kat, I was going to say, your question, and by the way, don't disagree with any of this. This is all accurate. But you talked about why air this to the New York Times. Going to just speculate a bit. I actually think the president doesn't really want us to talk about health care in this moment, Antonio, because it's a little bit of a disaster. You know, that's the facts, right? Congress has botched this. The Senate has botched this. I don't think that's a conversation the president wants to be having. So perhaps this is a different conversation, a bit of a distraction. As for AG Sessions, respectfully, I don't buy for 1 second that he never saw himself in the Attorney General's office. I think Judge Sessions has spent his entire life wanting to be the Attorney General of the United States. It's a high honor, and I think you know, anybody in our community, in the legal community, would want that. And I think you would have to claw it from his lifeless, cold, dead hands. Absolutely. Absolutely. No way you step away from that.
All right. Well, Senator John McCain's brain cancer diagnosis is shaking Washington to its core, and it's raising big questions about what's next for the fight over health care. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Fox News Specialists. Our specialists today are Judge Jeanine Pirro and Antonio Sabato Jr. So let's continue the conversation. A brain cancer diagnosis for Senator John McCain, quieting partisan rancor in D.C., at least for now. The senator is receiving prayers, encouragement, and praise across both sides of the aisle as he begins his battle against the disease. Senator McCain tweeting out earlier, quote, I greatly appreciate the outpouring of support. Unfortunately for my sparring partners in Congress, I'll be back soon, so stand by. Now, we're all rooting for you, Senator, here as well. The news of his diagnosis comes as Republican senators hunkered down in Washington today, attempting to revive a seemingly dead health care bill before a vote planned for next week. So, Judge, the vote, and again, we don't know which vote McConnell wants to bring, the full health care bill or this only clean repeal bill. But one of them he says he's going to now. The McCain news may change the timing on that a bit.
You know what, Eric, the question is, if they wait for Senator McCain, how long do they wait? That's number one. Number two, does Senator McCain's not being there for any length of time change the number of senators that are needed for the vote itself? I think not. I think it's still, they need the 50. But I'm not sure how long they're going to hold it and what impact it's going to have on the midterms, because everybody's looking at the midterms right now. But at the same time, you know, if we don't have McCain, for sure we're not going to get it passed.
Yeah. And listen, let's be honest here. If Senator McCain chooses not to come back for whatever reason, you have to talk about it. You have to ask what happens. The technical term, the technical process is the governor of the state of Arizona, who happens to be a Republican, appoints who he wants to appoint for that seat on an interim basis until a special election can happen. And you don't wait till 2018. There'll be a special election within a few months. In the meantime, that appointee would cast the Republican vote.
Would cast the vote. And here's the thing. It looked like, I think, from what we saw, that Senator McCain was going to vote in favor. So he's not one of the holdouts to be concerned about. So to Judge Jeanine's point, the timing then becomes very much of the essence, because I think the longer they delay the vote, I certainly think the political consequences for the GOP are worse.
Kat, there are 3 senators who are kind of holding out right now. It looks like Portman, Murkowski, and Collins. 3 of them.
3 women. 2 women. Okay, but on the clean repeal, there's 3 women, too.
Okay, but here's my question. I have a videotape. I'll put it up on Twitter right now, or right after this block, of the 3 of them explaining why they voted for this repeal bill in 2015. Now they're the holdouts for the exact same repeal.
Yeah, the real reason is because it's possible to repeal it now. It's so easy to make these grand gestures of, yeah, see, I stand for freedom. Well, you don't really, because like just President Trump was saying yesterday, I got my pen, I'm ready to sign it. And, you know, there's reports coming out, the CBO reports saying that this would have this negative impact or that negative impact. I'm not so sure that they're ready for a vote in any situation, because they just don't have enough votes right now.
Well, Antonio, why don't they? Now, the Cat points out President Trump yesterday said, I have my pen and I'm ready to sign it. It jogged my memory that in 2015, this repeal, the clean repeal bill only, not the replace, but the clean repeal bill got past the House, passed the Senate, and Barack Obama vetoed it at the presidential desk. Why can't they get that same thing now?
It's disappointing for the GOP to see what's going on. We have both houses, we have the president, we have everything we always wanted, and it can't happen because there's some people in Congress who are against this president, and they're making it a personal vendetta against him. But let me take this moment to say, Megan, we wish you the best. We send thoughts and prayers to you and your family and your father. So it's a tough time, but I hope they come through this month before vacation, because it needs to happen soon.
You know, the shame of this thing, Eric, is that, you know, just as Antonio said, we've got all 3. We've got the House, the Senate, the White House. And you know, like a bunch of bozos who haven't thought about this before. Then you've got the Democrats. They don't know, you know, who's in charge or what their message is. What a mess. No wonder people in Congress are held in such low esteem.
It strikes me that these 3 holdouts for the repeal, that if they would just jump on board, you wouldn't even need McCain's vote.
That's
if they jump on board, and they already voted for it, and Barack Obama had to veto it, it strikes me that they were just being obstructionists during the Obama term.
That's exactly right. They were vanity. They were pure vanity votes, Eric. It's not really rocket science. It was very easy to do, so they can posture to their constituents and say, look how much we're resisting President Obama. But now that there are real-life stakes on the line and there are political consequences around it, they don't have the courage to do what they said they wanted to do.
Can we invite any of those 3 senators on to maybe just have them come on and talk to us about this?
I would love to hear the rationale.
Collins and Murkowski, you're welcome here. We'll even do it remote, just an interview, find out how in the hell you can vote in favor of it in 2015, 18 months later.
And run on it.
18 months later.
And get people to vote for you, say, hey, this is a bad law. This is a bad thing. We got bad. People say, okay, we'll vote for you. And they're like, okay, but we didn't say we knew how to fix it.
Nothing's different about it. Nothing's different about the bill.
I can't wait. Maybe I can get these guys, the producers, to put this up tomorrow. But you got to see the video of them selling their vote in 2015 when they're backing
is that what hypocrisy looks like?
Yeah, it almost makes you feel like you can't trust them.
Next up, President Trump heading to the Pentagon for next steps on how to wipe out ISIS and boosting U.S. troop levels in Afghanistan. So stay with us.
With ISIS on its heels in Syria and Iraq, President Trump is meeting with top military brass at the Pentagon today, reviewing next steps in the fight to defeat ISIS and a potential surge in U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Now, President Trump sounding upbeat following today's meeting's conclusion.
The meeting was great. It was a very good meeting. Tremendous people, Pentagon, nothing like it. The job they do, absolutely incredible.
Any decisions on Afghanistan, sir?
You'll be hearing.
With ISIS on the run in Syria and Iraq, the risk of, quote, lone wolf attacks is increasing. It's an increasing concern to officials, along with deteriorating conditions in Afghanistan. Now, Antonio, obviously, we've been in Afghanistan over 15 years.
We've been there for a long time.
Yeah, what success looks like there, I think it's getting harder and harder for most Americans to wrap their heads around.
Well, our president needs to listen to the people that know their business, and I think we're going to be there. Hopefully not too long, but we need to win this war. And at some point, the last war we won, we actually had to put troops on the ground. That's the last time we won. So at some point, we're going to have to make that decision again. I don't know if it's the right decision or not. They're going to have to make that for us, but that's the last time we won, so think of that.
We know President Trump signed an executive order over the weekend really saying plainly he wants a plan. He wants it laid out specifically, this plan to defeat ISIS. Does that signal more seriousness from this administration?
Right. Well, he has the authority to put more troops there, of course, but I like that he seems a little more hesitant to do so. I'm not a fan of it because, as you said, we've been there for a while. What does success look like, and is it even possible to completely happen? It seems like we would be there forever. And I like that he seems to be a little bit holding back, kind of considering him and Mattis actually putting more out there.
And we know, Eric, the president has always been very reluctant to tell us what his plan is when it comes to national security. I think that's a really smart thing. We don't want to let our enemies know anything that's off the table. Where do you think his mind is?
Listen,
You've spoken to him a lot about this.
I think you guys have pointed this out, that he's relying on his generals. I think that's fantastic. Look, I'm with Kat. I don't think we can win in Afghanistan. I don't think we can win in the Middle East. I don't think we can win in Syria. I think we need to be pulling ourselves away from those types of things. But if he said early, I'm going to rely on my generals, and his generals will tell him something else, God bless, we're behind you 100%. I will tell you the scary thing, though, something we've talked about, when you kill ISIS, ISIS 2.0 pops up, and guess what happens when you kill them? 3.0 pops up.
Yeah. Judge, you also talked to President Trump a lot, and you have an understanding of his psyche. Where do you think the temperature is around his plan around ISIS?
You know, I think that what we're seeing is a president who's following through on what he said he would do. This is a top priority. He understands that what's going on in the Middle East is a genocide of Christians, a destruction of antiquities, and he is leaving it to his generals. I mean, that's the way he's doing this. He's giving them the room that they need. But I also think that devising new strategies, now that Mosul is recaptured, we're going to recapture Raqqa. But I agree with Eric. Bottom, we're never going to win in Afghanistan. What is a win in Afghanistan? Afghanistan's a bunch of caves. You know, they haven't been able to win there. And then the question is, what do? Go home, say goodbye? Are we going to set up house over there in the Middle East? No.
When we asked the question about what it looks like, Eric, a few weeks ago, we had the pictures of Mosul. I mean, it looked like, I mean, to say a war zone is a gross understatement.
You know, it's I like bunch of caves. I really like that.
But that's true. Yeah. That's true. But all they do. So the difference here, and again, let's point this out. The difference here between Afghanistan, Mosul, Raqqa, throughout the Middle East, Syria, and something like North Korea is that that guy you can do something about, and that guy is the one that is. I would be all in favor of some sort of military action on the Korean Peninsula.
I disagree, but it's, time to go.
But the major consideration would be Seoul and South Korea, and yet the new president in South Korea is making nice with Kim Jong-un.
Guess what, Judge? Guess what happens? You tell them, we're going to pull our 35,000 troops out. Guess what happens? You'll take that missile system overnight.
Yeah, lips to God's ears.
Certainly, I agree with that. When we come back, we will circle back with our specialists, Judge Jeanine Pirro and Antonio Sabato Jr.
Time to circle back with our specialists. Judge Jeanine Pirro and Antonio Sabato Jr. Judge, question for you. What's a weekend look like for you? You seem like a very, very fun person.
You know, I have this live show every Saturday night, so I'm always working weekends. But I
Going with
love
that?
it.
Yeah, we'll go with that, Judge. Well, during my time as a defense trial lawyer, I spent a lot of time in DV court, domestic violence court, and I actually have you to thank for that, Judge, because you started the first domestic violence unit in the prosecutor's office in the country. So can you tell us how that came about? Because that really changed lives.
You know, very quickly, I remember as a young prosecutor, one of the first cases I saw was a homicide, and it involved a husband and a wife. And then I never understood, because my dad loved my mom. I mean, how do you kill your wife? And that's when it all began. And of course, it was a long time ago. My kids will say it's when the laws were on stone tablets.
No.
So, you know, we fought for the laws, and my unit was the first of its kind in the nation.
And the law won.
And the law won.
And
Thank you,
justice.
Judge. Thank you.
Antonio, California 26.
District 26.
You're going to run?
What's my weekend like? I'm going to Pennsylvania now and then visit some friends. And then I'm going to go to...
Who has the seat right now?
Julia Browley is her name. She's been in politics for the last 30 years and done absolutely nothing. So I'm going to Congress on Monday, and I'm going to meet you guys, and I'm going to have my rounds and talk to them about what I got to do, what I want to do, and what I'm going to do.
Yeah, we need to flip
November.
a few districts
Good
in
for
California.
you. Good for
Flip them
you.
red.
Good luck.
Yeah, we will. Thank you.
Jeanine Pirro and Antonio Sabato Jr. And we thank you all for watching.
Wait. Is there a cat on the street tomorrow?
There is a cat on the street tomorrow. That's me. Cat as in me on the street. And also part of it is in a bar, and it's really fun.
yeah?
Yeah,
Good.
it's true. So make sure to follow us on social media at Specialist FNC on Twitter and Facebook. Remember, 5 o'clock will never be the same. Special Report is next, and it's so good. If you miss it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. So watch.
Awesome.